Days. Good afternoon, all the Football News UK fans. How are we all doing? Hope you're all well. I just want to start off the episode by saying, guys, thank you very much for all the likes and subscribe so far. We really, really do appreciate all your support. What we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be doing an episode on the upcoming season in French football. But first of all, Sean, how are we doing, my friend?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm doing all good. So I've woke up this morning though with a bad cold, so excuse the voice. But
one of those.
We go on.
One of those things. So, guys, what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about obviously the upcoming season in Ligue. A very, very exciting season that's going to be coming up, and we're going to start by talking about PSG. Okay, so. Sean, obviously it's been an interesting week for the Parisians. Obviously, they're a new coach, another new coach in Luis Enrique. What do you think, mate? What do you think?
Well, I think he's been out. He's obviously a great manager, isn't he? He's been out of work for a long time, hasn't he? Since the World Cup, actually.
Yeah.
For Spain, since 2022. So. You know, he's had time to just do, he's had time out, hasn't he, for a bit. So I think now the time's right for him to step into a big club like PSG. And personally, I think he's going to do quite well. I think he's going to do really well because the players that they've brought in as well, they've brought in Asensio from Real Madrid on a free transfer, as well.
Yeah,
that's good business, isn't it? And they've also brought in that Skriniar from Inter Milan, on a free transfer as well. So, they've signed those two players there, on free. So I think that's really good business, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's very interesting, Sean, really, because I've been thinking about, obviously, ahead of the episode today with PSG, and they're one of these clubs, I must admit, where it's weird, mate. You're kind of thinking to yourself, so there's the financial backing, there's the fan base there, there's all these great players that they've got, or so-called great players, and we'll get into that now. Excuse me. And you think to yourself, well, why has there not been a challenge in the Champions League? Why has there not been a challenge on the European front? And I must admit that, I think this appointment with Enrique is going to be, I think it's going to allow them the opportunity to go on and do that. You look at his track record, mate, a Champions League winner with Barcelona. Obviously, they won it in Berlin, didn't they, against Juventus in the final, with that absolutely brilliant season where they won the treble. And I think Enrique, mate, gets the best out of players, and I think with some of the players that he's got at his disposal at PSG, I think he's going to do a really, really good job. Domestically, obviously, that's the first port of call. I think, with the French league the way it is at the minute, PSG are favourites going into every season. You look at sort of, obviously there's no League Cup now. That's gone out the French league now. But they have got the Coupe Nationale, where they failed to win that in the past couple of seasons. So I think the upcoming season, I think Enrique's got to be looking at getting as close to the treble as what he possibly can. You look at last season, Jonesy, right? They only finished 5 points above Lens, who had an absolutely amazing season last year, and we'll get on to Lens later on. And you kind of think to yourself, should they be dominating French football more? Because their performances at times last year under Galtier, especially when the World Cup break came up, were very, very good. But after the World Cup break, it kind of all just fell apart, and the old PSG kind of came back into play. The rumours of dressing room unrest, Mbappe leaving, and so on and so forth. So I think, Enrique's got a big job on his hands, but he's got to hit the ground running as well, mate. Where he's got to be getting as close to the treble as what he possibly can. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. I think just going back to PSG, mate. I think they actually won by just 1 point.
Was it just a 1 point in the end?
Yeah, because Lens finished on 84 points. Obviously,
Right.
PSG finished on 85.
Yeah.
But personally, I believe that Lens now, this season anyway, I don't think they're going to do that again.
No.
Because I think obviously I think they're losing two of their best players. That Fofana guy, he's going to Saudi Arabia, mate.
Yeah.
He's already going. He's already going. And that Openda guy, the Belgian striker that they're going, he's
Yeah.
going to Leipzig apparently.
Yeah.
RB Leipzig have gone back in with a fourth bid for him
Okay.
after having a few bids rejected for him. So I
Yeah.
think he's obviously on his way out. But do you know what I'm really disappointed in, Saul? Is the other teams like Marseille, Monaco,
Oh, mate.
Leon,
Yeah.
For example, as well. I mean,
I,
what's happened to them? What has
I,
happened to them, mate?
Well, I tell you something, right, and with Leon, right, growing up and I really really like French football, mate. I'm a massive fan of it.
Yeah,
And guys, let us know what your comments are on the state of the league in the comments section. Is Leon especially, Sean? I have been really really disappointed with, because you look at that club and the history that it's had, especially domestically. I mean, with with Leon, okay, I go back to that sort of 2002, that 2001 to 2000 and sort of like 8-9 era. And mate, I'm not kidding you, especially that 05-06 team that reached the Champions League semi-final under Gerard Houllier was one of the best European teams I've ever seen. I mean, I can reel it off now, mate. I mean, you've got Coupe in goal, you've got Reviere at right back, you've got Kasapa, Chris, Abidal as a back four. Then you had Mahamadou Diarra, Juninho, Michael Essien had just been transferred to Chelsea at that stage, but they brought in Thiago from Chelsea, so it was a swap over. And then you had Govu, Wiltord, and obviously Fred, who was the Brazilian up front. And you think to yourself, what a team that was. And he had a succession of great managers in terms of, Paul Le Guen, who ended up at Rangers, obviously didn't work out. Gerard Houllier, Alan Perrin, who had a spell at Portsmouth, but he ended up winning the league title. Obviously, Karim Benzema came from there, and you think to yourself, well, what's gone wrong at Lyon? They've got the new stadium now, Sean, and I honestly don't know what's gone on. I mean, some of their transfers have been questionable, and I just think these clubs do need to start challenging PSG on a more consistent basis, because as it stands at the minute, Sean, it's getting towards Christmas, and kind of all the teams have just fell off. And we'll go on to Marseille in a minute, but Lyon's been a really really big disappointment for me, mate. I think some of the players that they've brought through, and they've been unable to really sort of build a really good team there that can challenge PSG.
Well, the transfers as well, so that they've made the money back. They've wasted the money, haven't they? Because they haven't replaced. They haven't really kicked on and bought some top players.
No.
And I just think it's poor transfer dealerships, isn't it? And I think obviously they've brought in. They always brought in young talent, don't they, from the youth system and stuff like that. And obviously that's where they've made the money, hasn't it, from the academy? But they've made a load of money over the years, haven't they? With Benzema, for example, they made a lot of money on him.
Yeah,
they've had so many top players in the past, and I feel that they just haven't. They haven't like spent it well, have they?
No, they haven't. And I think I think it's kind of like the way I look at it is, if you're going to be getting a lot of money, I mean, you look at like the Lacazette deal, Sean. You'll know that better than anybody else who's been an Arsenal fan. You know, you look at the Lacazette deal. You know, where did that money get invested in? But you know, and you've seen it down the years as well, that they've had to get rid of their you know, their so-called star players. I mean, Fekir as well. You know, we remember him, Sean, don't we? He went. He was linked with Liverpool, wasn't he? But then obviously he ended up at Real Betis, didn't he?
I mean, yeah, but Real Betis, mate. Nobody really expected that, really, going to Real Betis with.
Yeah, I'm as well. You know, you look at that, Sean, and you think to yourself, well, why did he let him go to Real Betis? You know, it's like kind of like, you know, Lyon are just as big a club as what Real Betis are, if not bigger. So yeah, Lyon are a massive disappointment, and I'm hoping that they'll put up a good challenge this season. Moving on, Sean, to probably the biggest disappointment in the French league at the minute. I would say it's Marseille. Now, Marseille are the only French team to have won the European Cup, and yet each year you just don't do anything, do they? I mean, last season was slightly better. There's constant managerial changes there, but it's even more heartbreaking for. I mean, Marseille fans are absolutely fanatical, mate. They're so the passionate fans and everything like that. But where do you think it's gone wrong for Marseille, Sean? You know, we're a club of that size, not being able to, you know, sustain a challenge in the league, not being able to do anything in Europe. Where do you think it's gone wrong?
Well, it's a good question, isn't it, Saul? I mean, I'm just looking there. Marseille finished third last season with 73 points.
Yeah.
You know, PSG finished with 85 points. I mean, there's quite a difference there in points-wise. Obviously, they finished third, so they've obviously got European football. But again, they're like Lyon, aren't they? They should be doing a lot better than what they have been doing. And like you say, they're a big club in France, and they've got fantastic supporters, haven't they? They've got a really nice big stadium there.
Yeah, the Velodrome.
And the Velodrome, which, by the way, we're going in the future at some point.
Yeah, definitely
for the channel. We're going to be watching. We're going to be watching European football live. So we're going to do that. But yeah, again, though, mate, it's like management has been poor. Signings have been poor, and I think it's what we're going to be talking about in the next subject is the state of the whole French football league. It's just not good enough, is it? And obviously it's going to be really difficult competing with the likes of PSG with all the money they've got.
Yeah.
But for another club, mate, Monaco. I mean, how they used to have a really top team. They were in the Champions League, weren't they?
Well, you've got to think, Sean, as well. In 2004, Monaco reached the Champions League final. You know, they had the likes of.
Exactly.
I mean that front two that they had. I mean, they had Dado Perso up front and Fernando Morientes. You know, they had. I don't know whether you remember him as well. And guys, let us know if you remember. Obviously, these players that we are mentioning, that Jeremy Rotten on the left hand side. He ended up at he ended up at Glasgow Rangers. Obviously at the back end of his career, you know, and like, you know, you've got like, you know, Julie, who ended up at Barcelona. It's you know, Monaco have been, but with Monaco, Sean, I mean, there is a little bit more. I'd say not. I don't know whether sympathy is the right word, but a bit more of an understanding that they can't challenge, because you look at their stadium, you know, that there isn't the infrastructure there to be able to sustain a challenge to PSG. But with the teams that we've just mentioned, you know, like with Lyon, Marseille, there should be more of a challenge there, Sean, as well. But moving on to our next subject, Sean, the state of the French league. So obviously, since the Qatari owners came into PSG, the championship obviously has been going to PSG most seasons, and I suppose it kind of goes back to that question where is it the same as what we discussed the other day with La Liga? Is it on the other teams to get up to a certain standard, make sure that they find other ways of winning the league, or do you think there is an imbalance with the money distribution and the what do you think? Because I've always been. It's funny this. I mean, I've got to give a big shout out to Michael Sweeney, right? Who I was talking about, right? Who's talking to about this with the European leagues, and it's difficult because the money distribution and everything like that. But my argument is that with other teams, there's more than one way to skin a cat, Sean, and the other teams have got to find a way of winning the league. I mean, if you look at it, right, Lille have won the league, obviously when Pochettino was in charge at PSG, and Montpellier have won the league as well. So you look at it and you think it can be done, but I suppose what the problem is with these other clubs, offers do come in, and they can't keep hold of the best players. It's disappointing, isn't it? And I think but with the league, I'm very, very passionate about French football, and the amount of young players that it brings out of that country, mate, is unbelievable. The talent that it brings out. I mean, if you look at it now, I mean, this transfer window, which obviously we're going to be updating, obviously on the channel and obviously the Twitter channel and everything. Guys, check that out when you get a minute. Is like the talent that comes out of the league is unbelievable. So the league can't be that. The league can't be that bad. What do you think?
That's what I mean. It is an imbalance, Saul, I think. Obviously, PSG have got billions of money, haven't they, in the bag?
Yeah.
And, teams are going to struggle like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like Manchester City, isn't it, at the minute?
Yeah.
And teams like you say, like Lens, Marseille, literally all of the French lower teams are going to struggle at that. But like you just mentioned there, Montpellier won it. How many seasons ago was that?
Oh God, that was.
I can't remember.
I mean, that was around about. That was around about. Obviously, that was around about probably 08, 09. I mean, that season, the Johan Gourcuff playing for them. It was it was the next best big thing, wasn't it? I mean, Johan Gourcuff got a lot of big moves on the back of that. So
didn't they have Giroud? Did they have Giroud there as well?
Yeah,
I think Giroud played there. Obviously, that's when Arsenal signed him.
Yeah,
he scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, so it's difficult, isn't it? I think, but I think this is going to be a really, really exciting season in French football, Sean. I think, my personal opinion, I do believe PSG will win the league. Obviously, and it will be for the 12th time as well. They set the record when they won the championship last season under Galtier. But I do believe that other teams now have got to get into a position where they're going to be making a sustainable challenge, haven't they? The likes of Marseille, likes of Lyon have got to step up to the plate. What do you think lies in store for the season there, mate? What do you think?
I agree, mate. I think, again, PSG will probably win it again, as always.
Yeah.
But it did get closer last season with the likes of Lens, obviously 1 point behind them. But like I said before, they're going to be missing two of their star players, which is going to make it more difficult for them. Marseille, again, it all depends on who they sign in the summer. They obviously need to strengthen. All the teams need to strengthen. But yeah, personally, mate, I think PSG are going to win it again, which is I just wish it was more competitive for the
Yeah,
other teams, because
yeah,
it does get a bit boring after a while. PSG winning it all every single year. You know, obviously we're passionate about French league football and we want the best for it.
yeah,
And I just think that the other teams need to push on, and they just need to get some more good players in and just keep on going, mate. It's just frustrating, isn't it? I think.
yeah, definitely. Okay, coming back to obviously the first subject, Sean, with PSG. Couple of players I want to talk about. Let's touch on Neymar. Okay, first and foremost, obviously he's been a big talking point since obviously he's gone to Paris. Not really worked out for him. I think we would all agree. And
Yeah, yeah,
under Enrique, obviously he played his best football in his career, probably with that treble winning season at Barcelona. Now,
yeah.
from my point of view, and guys, let us know what you think about Neymar in the comments section. Where do you think he stands at the minute? Do you think this could be a rebirth of Neymar now with Luis Enrique coming in, or do you believe now that it's going to be very much his antics off the field are still going to hamper him, or do you think we're going to be able to see the best of him now in a PSG shirt?
Well, I think obviously it helps that Enrique is there. Obviously, he's worked with him in the past, hasn't he? So
Yeah,
obviously he knows him well. But yeah, I think if he stays, I think he's going to be brilliant again under Enrique.
yeah,
But the question is he going to leave? This is it, because I've heard that he wants to go back to Barcelona,
yeah,
uh, but can they afford him? Can they
yeah.
afford his wages? Because I don't think they can afford his wage.
No,
But I think now that obviously he knows that Enrique's back in a job, he's probably going to stay and obviously fight for Luis Enrique, and I think he'll probably be, you know, is Messi gone? Messi's gone, hasn't he? Messi's already gone.
yeah,
He's gone
that's his
to.
left. Yeah,
So and then there's still question marks of Mbappe as well,
yeah,
whether or not he's going to stay or go. But I believe that he's probably going to stay, because I think the owners have come out and said he's going to stay. Now that he knows, obviously they've got Enrique there now as the manager. So yeah, I think Neymar would do bits, mate, under Enrique again.
yeah. I do, mate, as well. Do you know what, Sean? I think that's a really good point because I've been thinking about it, mate, really. And you watch his clips when he played under Enrique, and his form was absolutely unbelievable. It was a joke.
Yeah,
You look at the way he played in the system that he played. I mean, Enrique obviously at Barcelona went with that 4-3-3 with a deep lying midfield player, and then two ahead of that, and then Neymar was always on the left, cutting in
left.
obviously on his right foot. I think he
Yeah,
did. I think he'll do brilliant under Enrique. I really do. I think he's such a talent, Neymar, mate, and I don't know. I feel it's almost sad, isn't it, to see the way he's gone recently, Neymar. Was it the right move for him to come into the French league at that stage of his career? It, it's
yeah,
difficult, mate, because you say people say, well, it's not really worked out, but he's won lots of trophies. He scored lots of goals. His form at the start of last season, Sean, was absolutely unbelievable under Galtier. I mean,
yeah,
Galtier went with a 3-4-1-2 system, and Neymar was playing in that pocket behind the front two with which was obviously Messi and Mbappe. But
yeah,
it's just finding that system, really. I mean, in the COVID season, he basically got PSG to that final all on his own. Under Tuchel, they were very much functional. PSG. They weren't great to watch, but they were dead compact, well organised, and then they had Neymar up front, obviously with Mbappe, who could do a bit of magic. And I just think
yeah,
if he's allowed, if the signings are right, and he's allowed to go in express himself properly, like you put it, mate, I think he'll do great things under Enrique. I really do. I think he's got the potential to still make a success of his career at PSG.
Going back sort to when Neymar was at Barcelona, mate, I had the honour actually to watch him live against, play against Bilbao, and I tell you what, mate, watching him live was absolutely fantastic to see.
Yeah,
he was probably the man of the match on that day.
Yeah,
he had a couple of assists, I believe it was. Do you remember Paco Alcacer?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
striker. He set up a goal for him. I actually recorded the goal, mate, as well. So I've got that on my phone somewhere.
Yeah,
I'll have to get that uploaded sometime.
Yeah,
But yeah, I personally think that he should stay with Enrique, and yeah, he'll do fantastic again there, mate. And I'm sure he'll probably get back to his best under Enrique at PSG.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So obviously that leads us on nicely to then, Sean, the biggest sort of story of the summer, and you probably know where I'm going to go with this, then, mate. So Kylian Mbappe, mate. Okay, so. And guys, please put it in the comment section where you think he's going to end up at the end of this summer. Now, mate, what a player! Probably the closest thing that I've seen to the Brazilian Ronaldo. When he's in full flow, Sean, he's a joke. He's an absolute joke, mate, isn't he?
There's just no stopping him, is there?
No, he's pace, power, scores goals. His work ethic's unbelievable, and you look at it, mate, and you think to yourself, right, is he going to see out his time with PSG? But it's clear to see, Sean, that winning Ligue every season isn't enough for him. Now, here's my first question to you, guys. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section. Do PSG have to win the Champions League this season for him to consider staying and potentially signing a new deal? What do you think?
Well, mate, I think they should be winning the Champions League with the team that they've got, and I think if they fail to do that this season, I think that possibly he might be on his way out.
Yeah.
Because I know obviously the favourites to sign him is Real Madrid. Which obviously makes sense. They've just got rid of Benzema.
Yeah.
And who's going to be playing their striker this season? Who's their replacement for him?
Real Madrid?
At Madrid, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, mate, I think they're going to be maybe playing with like a false nine, aren't they? So like they've got like Vinicius Junior, they've got Rodrigo, haven't they? Ancelotti seems to be going down that sort of route, doesn't he? With that, I mean, to be fair, Sean, if you think about it, right, the move to Real Madrid it's going to happen, isn't it? It generally does look like it's going to happen. He's been a Real Madrid fan for pretty much most of his life, so I believe with Kylian Mbappe. But I think
are they gonna get him for free though? So next season, because obviously they're gonna get him on a free next season if they don't get him this summer, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is obviously PSG are not going to let that happen, are they?
No,
I read yesterday, Saul, that the owners talking to Kylian Mbappe about obviously extending his contract.
Yeah.
So then obviously they'll have a massive release clause, won't they, next summer?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense because if you're losing a player like that for free next summer is, it's quite embarrassing really from a PSG point of view, isn't it? By letting that player go for free. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's not good, that.
No, it isn't, mate. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you'd be a bit disgruntled, wouldn't you, if you're the PSG owner and basically you just go, yeah, go on, mate, best player in the world, go for free. It's not really what you want. I mean, with
Real
PSG,
be laughing.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Florentino Perez will basically be sat there in his office with a massive cigar, going, we've just got we've just got Mbappe for free. But if I was the PSG owner, Sean, I would very much look towards, obviously, you've got to be selling him for 350 million, haven't you? At least, if you think about it, right? There's no way you can sell him. There's no way you can sell Kylian Mbappe for less than 350 million. Not in my opinion. If you look at the players that are going for all these big prices, you just can't justify like selling him for like even 100 million. So Real Madrid are going to have to. I think Real Madrid are going to have to like probably break the bank for him, mate. There's only so many clubs who could probably do it. The top 4 clubs who I believe could afford Mbappe are probably, I'd say, Real Madrid definitely, Chelsea, Man City, and at a push, mate, maybe Bayern Munich. I mean, there's been little rumours saying that Bayern Munich could have been linked with him. So, I think Mbappe will be on his way, but it'll be very interesting, Sean, won't it, to see if they do get money and they don't allow him to go for a free, how they would reinvest that in the squad. I mean, I don't know whether you've looked at it, Sean. Basically, with PSG, apparently with Luis Campos, the sporting director, there's been sort of a sort of like reorganization of the model that they're trying to create at PSG in terms of recruiting young French players. Do you think that will be a good way for PSG to go, mate, in terms of actually building a team, building a club, because it's very sort of like there's no stability, is there? So do you think if they were to sell Mbappe, that'll give them a chance to rebuild with young, hungry French players?
Well, that's another interesting story, isn't it? So, I mean, if they do sell him, obviously they're going to get a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
And, who are they going to replace Mbappe with? Because, let's face it, he's very difficult to replace. There's no Mbappes out there, is there, like
No.
that? So it'd be interesting to see what happens. It's a very interesting story where he's going to end up, if he's going to stay on at PSG. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's going to be very, very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
You mentioned those teams there. Bayern Munich, I believe they're after Harry Kane this summer, aren't they?
Yeah.
Obviously, Spurs are going to obviously want to keep him, but it's all up to Harry Kane. Thomas Tuchel's apparently already been at his door asking if he wants to join Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, obviously they've got a lot of money now with the American owner coming in. And like you say about the young French youngsters, if they're going to get some coming through. I mean, obviously PSG have got a fantastic academy, haven't they?
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And Sean, do you know what I don't get as well? That's a brilliant point that you've just brought up as well. Like, so if you look at it at the minute, the top 3 academies in European football at the minute are Ajax, Barcelona, and PSG. Right now, if you look at that, right, why are they not using that more? I mean, there's got to be more emphasis on the youth system, hasn't there? And I think as well, Sean, as well, for a club like PSG, it's important to be seen to be doing the right things, isn't it? Like, do you know, like the big clubs, they've always had that thing about them, haven't they? And I just think too many times PSG they haven't looked to have done the right things instead of just splashing loads of money out in the transfer market, not for it to work out. And then
they've wasted. They have wasted a lot of money in the past, haven't they? PSG.
Yeah, they've wasted so much money, mate.
Yeah, and they've spent it on, average players, really. I mean, not good enough players. Even though they keep on obviously winning the league, but PSG for me needs to win the Champions League, mate.
Yeah,
it's such a big club. And like we just said before about Mbappe, if PSG don't win it this season, mate, I think he'll probably be going. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what you think, but I think his time's up there. You know, he's won
Yeah.
what he wants for
Yeah.
PSG, and if he doesn't win the European Cup, Champions League, I think he'll probably end up going at Madrid. You know, he's got to be looking at Madrid, what they're doing there. You know, they're signing young players like Bellingham. We mentioned in our first episode, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it a first? No, our last episode, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But and I think he'll be, you know, he'd want to join that project at Madrid.
Yeah.
And but you know, I did actually talk to you yesterday actually about Ancelotti. He's actually joining Brazil, mate.
Yeah. This is a really interesting point, mate. Could that be a stumbling block in Mbappe going to Real Madrid? Because there's that instability again at Madrid, mate, isn't there? You know, is he going to want to go somewhere where he doesn't know who the manager's going to be? I mean, personally, I think there's a big chance Zidane could end up back there, mate. Really, but we'll have to wait and see. Guys, I just want to let you know about what we're going to be doing when the actual season starts. So, at the moment, as you know, we're going through all the European leagues individually, and we're going to keep doing that. Just to give you the updates on basically what we're going to, you know, basically the preview ahead of the season ahead. But when the season starts, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing our own European roundup in one episode. So we're going to be going through the French League, the Spanish League, Eredivisie, Serie A, all in one episode. And basically what that's going to involve is that's going to involve an hour-long episode when the season starts. So we're going to do our European roundup in one episode. So look forward to that, guys, as well, because that's going to be very interesting. Obviously, with me and Sean, you know, traveling obviously with the channel this upcoming season as well. You know, you're going to see, you know, lots of good things and really, really good coverage of European football. So look forward to that when the season starts. Sean, getting back to what we were talking about then. So let's, you know, obviously we're going to sum up obviously in this episode now. So in terms of, you know, in terms of the league this season then, do you think it's going to end up at PSG?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, to be honest with you. I just can't see any other team challenging, mate, to be honest. I think it's going to be PSG. I really hope, you know, it's closer than what it is going to be. But I think Lyon might finish second this season. My predictions, mate, is PSG, Lyon. I'm going to say Marseille.
Yeah.
And Monaco fourth.
Yeah, fourth. Yeah,
that's what I think.
My prediction for the top two, mate, is going to be, I think PSG will win the league under Enrique in his first season, and I think Marseille will come a close second, mate. So that basically sums up the episode nicely, mate. So, guys, I really, really do hope you've enjoyed this episode. Obviously, we've gone through what's going to be happening in Ligue in this season. Guys, please stay tuned for the future as well. So, me and Sean are going to be looking to go over to France at some stage in the coming season, where we're going to be doing coverage of French football. Again, that will involve obviously the European roundup that I've just mentioned there. Guys, please give us a like and subscribe. Also follow us on Twitter and our Facebook page as well. And we're going to be keeping you updated on when the next episode's going to be, which will be in the next few days. But Sean, have you got anything more to add, my friend?
Yeah, thank you everyone again for your support, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.